JR's drunk. That's nothing.
Can you hear us now? Yes. All right.
Yeah.
We're good to go.
Yay! All
Those
right.
guys. Sorry about
And
that.
action. All right. We
We're
are
back.
back live once again with Thad. Thanks for everybody checking out the chat early. I know we're running a little bit late, but we will make it worth it. For everybody who doesn't know, and I don't know why you don't know, and you're listening to this podcast right now, that is the lead multiplayer designer for Hardline. How did you kind of get into this business, Thad? How did you end up at EA?
That's a good question. Is there a way to mute the? I'm hearing like the stream at the same time on delay. Is there a way to mute that?
Yeah, in your Twitch, underneath the screen, you'll have a little microphone there.
Thank you. Sorry, I'm new to this.
That's all right. I just turned off mine.
There we go. Beautiful. All right. Much better. Now I can hear myself think. So it's I've actually been doing this for quite a while. I started off actually working at Activision in QA. I didn't even know that was actually a job. Hey, I can get paid to play games. That's what you think when you see the ad, right? The reality is you play the same broken game over and over and over until you're finally sick to death of it. But it's actually a really good experience to get you started in understanding how to develop games and how to get into game development. I worked there for a couple of years. I worked my way kind of up the chain and so on, and I got a chance to go be an embedded tester at a studio, which was Gray Matter Interactive. I don't know if you guys remember them. They worked on Return to Castle Wolfenstein, that game a long time ago.
That's old classic.
Yeah, right. That started my shooter career. I worked on that. I got friendly with the dev team. They're like, "Hey, do you want a job as a junior designer, as a scripter?" I was like, "Of course I do." So from that, we worked on Call of Duty United Offensive. Did some multiplayer, did some single player on that, and then Gray Matter got merged into Treyarch, so I worked on Call of Duty, Big Red 1, and then World at War. Oh, excuse me, World at War, and then decided I'd had enough of kind of the World War II thing. I wanted to do something a little bit more military, a little bit more tactical. And I've been playing a ton of Rainbow Six Raven Shield. I don't know if you guys ever played that, but I love that game to pieces. And so I was like, who made this game? Ubisoft, Red Storm. What is this? So I called them up and I applied to them, and they're like, yeah, we'll hire you. So I moved out there and I worked on Ghost Recon for the next 6 years. And then after shipping a couple titles with them, I got contacted by EA and they said, hey, we have this cool opportunity to come work on a new IP. And I was like, a new IP? I've only worked on franchise shooters. This sounds amazing. So I signed the contract, and 2 weeks later they called and said, hey, your project's been canceled. And I was like, no, I just signed the contract. I put in my notice. I did all this.
Shit.
And they're like, how'd you like to work on Battlefield? And I was like, okay.
That
sounds great.
Yeah.
So that's when I started working here. I was here about 2 weeks and put together a pitch for what turned into Battlefield 3's expansion pack 5 Endgame. And that actually got made.
My favorite, by the way, out of Battlefield 3.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Awesome.
Battlefield 3 was great, and I really enjoyed working on Endgame. And it let me understand the Battlefield universe. We worked really closely with DICE. We learned how to make conquest maps, and we learned how to make vehicles and weapons and all that kind of fun stuff. So I think that was a great starting point for us to start to figure out, so here's how we can make Hardline. Here's how Battlefield works, and here's the direction we want to take it with Hardline. So it's kind of the long version.
That's really interesting because a lot of people have compared Hardline to Endgame. Like I've heard the comparison being made with the tighter maps and stuff like that. So
interesting.
Very, very interesting.
So before you got involved with your own development, what was your first way of picking up Battlefield? Your first Battlefield experience?
The demo for 1942.
You got in the demo of it.
Oh yeah, I remember.
Nice.
Yeah, that was back when I was working in QA at the time, and I remember playing that with all the guys down in the basement, the dungeon at Activision, and it was just such a blast. I mean, back when it wasn't C4, I forget what it was called, but you had the charges that you could detonate, and we put them on the jeeps and flew across the maps, and we just had the most fun in that game. There was so much emergent gameplay, and this is back when you could drive the battleship and the carrier, and everybody would just beach them, and all kinds of crazy hijinks, and it was just
first time I did submarine. Submarine was crazy. I was like, what the hell happened? What am I doing? Right.
So I've been in love with Battlefield since then. It's a fantastic franchise, and I have a deep respect for the ladies and gentlemen who made it.
Now that you've got to do that, though, how does it feel from going from playing it in the demo in the basement? Now, granted, you did say a basement in Activision.
Yeah.
play EA games, so they won't let you play that. And like in the normal area, you have to play the EA games at Activision in the basement, right?
So it's like anything. You just have to kind of convince people the right way. This is research, guys. This is research.
Right. You got to see what they're doing.
Right.
It's like the Coke guy drinking Pepsi.
Well, now the going from that to this, really, how does that kind of feel to now lead your own project on it?
It's been an incredible experience, and what a growth opportunity for me personally. I've learned so much working for Electronic Arts and working with Dice Stockholm, Dice Los Angeles, and it's just been an amazing opportunity. I've gotten to spend several months in Stockholm, which I don't know if you guys have ever been there, but it's just a gorgeous place. Yeah, it gets a little cold sometimes, but it's really really cool out there. So I've loved it.
Right on. Do you hear police sirens when you go to sleep at night? I mean, you've been working on this a lot.
My conscience is clean, Lano.
No, you hear them all day at work. When you go to bed, do you still hear the police sirens from playing the game? And
no, I think I'm immune to it at this point. It's been almost 3 years for us. So
after the first day of the beta, I did. I was going to bed going.
It's like going to Las Vegas. And you hear the ting ding 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 ding.
Yeah. I need to turn that off.
Good. So you said 3 years. Kind of work on this whole thing. So how did the concept of Hardline kind of come to be? Like your pitch to how it is now?
Well, it's changed a lot since the initial pitch, but this is something that DICE has always wanted to make. Actually, they've had a number of ideas internally that they think that the theme is really strong and the ideas surrounding it provide exciting moments, exciting gameplay, and they've always wanted to make this as well. And I'm excited that we actually got the chance to execute on it. So I think the story Steve has is that he and Carl Magnus were talking one day, and Coam was like, "Wow, I really love Dead Space," and Steve was like, "Wow, I really love Battlefield." And they're like, why don't we combine our powers and make something new? And they had this idea for the kind of cops and criminals game.
Mm-hmm.
So that's kind of where it started.
Yeah, that's really interesting to me because it seems like games come out with similar ideas at the same time just looking at a gamer. But to talk 3 years in development, it's not like, well, these people are doing this, so I'm going to total copy it. It's, it's good ideas coming out. Think of like Rainbow Six Siege and stuff like that. That's The Division, a little bit kind of the cops and robbers. But so that's interesting. Yeah, it's a fresh direction.
I think it is really interesting. And some of that is conscious choice, right? There's only so many genres you're going to explore with a shooter. And one of the things we thought about back at that time was that it seemed like a lot of the games were going kind of like a science fiction or a futuristic direction. And I think that you can kind of see that in the marketplace too. You had Advanced Warfare, we had Destiny. We had a lot of games that kind of went that science fiction or futuristic direction, and it gave us a nice spot to kind of be in where we don't have a lot of competition. We don't have another real cops and criminals kind of shooter that we're going toe to toe against. So I think it was a brilliant decision actually.
Mm-hmm.
Well, yeah. Go ahead. Sorry. Go.
I was just thinking like the maybe not natural progression, but an easy progression to the cops and robbers from the military, and it freshens it up. I mean, a lot of people are clamoring now for World War II games because we played in the future and we've played, current. But I mean, that's a whole other direction, and it freshens up the series. And
yes.
So.
And I like that idea of getting a breather from the same setting, from the same time period, and when you go back to those things, it's like you said, they're refreshed. You're like, oh, I haven't played World War II since back in the day, and the technology's advanced so much. Now we can have all new gameplay, all new effects, all new visuals, higher fidelity, all these things.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I remember when like all the games that were coming out were first-person shooters. Not all, but most were military World War II shooters, and everyone was like, oh, I can't wait till they go into modern age and futuristic style stuff, whatever. Then they've done that, and then everyone else jumped on that same modern age of stuff. Now I want something futuristic. What are we going to see in the future? Everyone jumps on that train. Now there's a lot of people going, let's go back to World War II. It wasn't too long ago that we all hated it, but that's what we want now. I personally, I would like to see another really good high fidelity World War II game. But in the initial idea of Hardline, I thought, man, this just ain't gonna work. It's not. But from the beta and the testing and stuff I've played, I've always seen a huge amount of potential. The modes really cater to the style, the theme. So I think you guys really did something that no one else believes that you could have done.
Mm-hmm.
It's been a challenging road for sure. I think there was a lot of skepticism, even on the team initially too. A lot of people weren't necessarily bought into the concept. They're like, "How is this going to work?" And I don't really get it yet. And we obviously with multiplayer, it's an iterative development where you do something and then you play test it and you go, "Well, that sucked, and why did it suck? What can we fix about it? What makes it more fun?" And you keep iterating and step by step by step by step. Finally, you get something that you're like, okay, that's fun. Let's focus on that. We're going to follow that because that's what the game is about. And we actually had that moment probably about 3 to 6 months into development when we prototyped Heist. We finally found a version of Heist that was super intense and super fun. We had the bags in play, and Bank Job was our first map that we worked on. And so it really captured the whole fantasy and the whole cops and criminals setting. And it was really cool to see it all come together and we start to realize that, oh yeah, there's definitely something here.
Good.
Go ahead.
Well, just hearing a little bit from the beginning, and then Lono going back and forth and coming back to me, he's like, I can't say much, but it's really fun and you're going to enjoy it. I'm like, I keep teasing him. So finally, able to get 3 modes and a bunch of the guns and stuff in our hands.
I think it's really helpful. It's just that you're giving people more than just one mode. You're giving them a good variety of what the game's going to be about, the theme, and how it's going to play out. So instead of saying, "Oh well, I don't like that mode, I might like the other ones," they get a good idea of what it is. And I think that was really beneficial that you guys gave out 3 maps, 3 modes, instead of just sticking to one map, one mode, and then just grind that for hours on end.
And you know what? As far as I can remember, this beta has the most content of any beta I've ever heard about. I mean, who does that? Who gives you 3 modes and 3 maps? Usually it's a lot more restricted than that. Even our previous beta had less than that. So I think it was a pretty bold move on the part of the company, and I think it's really worked out well because, like you said, you get tired of one thing, you go check out the other thing. You don't like this thing, you're like, maybe I like that thing, and I think it's worked well for us.
Mm-hmm. Oh, exactly. A lot of people are Conquest fans, and I don't happen to be one of them, but you might as well check out that mode and try the other new ones. Like Hotwire is such a blast to play. It's like GTA with an actual goal. Driving around, smashing people with cars, running them over with the tanker. It's pretty hilarious.
I like setting up the tanker for the roadblock. Like,
yes.
'cause I got the RPG junk in the trunk, thing. So I'll park the semi there where they're all coming around the corner. 3 or 4 cars smash into it, and just that's a good moment. That's good.
It is. I love
Maybe
that
not for them,
explosion.
but I love it.
Yeah.
Now that the beta is out and live and everyone's getting their hands on it and everything, what's the next step for you guys? What's
well, the next step
direction to go?
The next step for us is the thing we're currently working on, which is collating all the feedback and trying to make sense of it, trying to get signal out of the noise, because there's a metric ton of feedback, right? And not just like written feedback and player feedback, but also data, metrics, and all the things that we collect based on the player actions, how many people use this gun, how accurate it is, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So I really look forward to being able to dig into that. We've got a couple people right now kind of like combing through the forums and finding all the issues. Obviously, we work on the bugs and the serious bugs that we find first, and then we look at some of the more fine details like the gun balancing and the mode balancing and the level design and all those other little things that we can still tweak. So that's what we're currently working on, is trying to figure out, what direction do we need to push things? What things do we need to fix? What are the highest priority things, and what are the things that we'd like to change? So
have you guys identified, a bunch of changes already?
Oh yeah. A bunch. I mean,
you've probably just seen how the community breaks things different from playtesting. Yeah.
Well, I mean, anytime you get this many users playing for this period of time, they're going to find stuff that you could never find in testing. We just can't devote the number of hours that we can with something where a couple 100,000 people are checking this out or whatever it is. So they're going to find all kinds of stuff that we would never be able to find. So I think it's been extremely beneficial for us. Another interesting thing about this beta, actually, for me personally, is that we don't usually focus this much on one map in one mode. Like, we have never played this many hours of Bank Job Heist. It's impossible. We have a ton of content to make. We have to test it all. We have to make sure it's all fun, and we have to iterate on it all constantly. So I got to spend probably a good 18 hours of my time playing bank job in Heist, and that taught me so much about how the weapons are balanced for this one particular space, how the gameplay and the mode work in this one particular space, and that's been an amazing kind of magnifying glass for me.
The Molotovs, though, I love those for the bank.
So, I mean, if they're camping the vault, come on, break through the roof, throw the mollies down, and you got
Yeah,
this.
those are
Yeah.
great. So, from the beginning idea that you guys had, what, whether it be mode, balance, level design, whatever, what's changed from iteration to execution? Changed the most? Was it a
The
particular
most,
mode that changed, or was it
I mean,
concept on how you guys wanted to do it?
that's a tough question because we've changed so much over the course of the project.
Now,
I mean,
it may help you. I did hear a little bit from Zach earlier about how much changes there were made to Hotwire, like from
yeah, that
its.
was that was the first place I was going to stop because it's obviously players are really responding well to it, and I thought it'd be interesting for you guys to understand a little bit how we arrived at it.
Sure,
So
yeah.
typically when we start with a game mode idea, we start with kind of a high level concept, like something that's cool that happened in a movie, or something you might have seen in real life that you thought was, wow, I'd really like to fast rope out of a Black Hawk, or whatever it might be, and see if we can come up with some kind of compelling gameplay about it. I think Heist was really inspired by the movie Heat. That's kind of like why we start in a bank and why you go out in the street and have this awesome gunfight between prop cars. And there's a little bit of Dark Knight in there too, with the zip line across the roof of the bank, and we draw inspiration from a lot of different sources. But with Hotwire, what we thought was, wow, man, how can you not do a mode about high-speed chases, right? I mean, Cops
Mhm.
and Criminals, it's
Yeah,
going to
fits the
happen,
theme.
It's a
Yeah.
natural.
right?
Yeah.
So we started there, and we're like, this has got to happen. This has got to work. It's going to be amazing when it works. And we tried a lot of things, and they all mostly just sucked. We tried all kinds of stuff. We tried checkpoints you have to drive through. That sounds like a really cool idea. Let's put in checkpoints. Well, players are confused and they can't find the checkpoints.
Nice.
Well, what about if you have to
Yeah, I'm
capture the
glad
car and
there's
you
not
take it back to a
checkpoints.
garage and you park it in the garage, and that's how you score the points? Players just camp the parking garages. That's not fun. That's not car chases. Huh. Well, what about if we have the mode's asymmetric and the cops are trying to defend and the criminals are trying to steal the cars? Cops are complaining because they're not having fun.
Yeah.
All right. What about if everybody has to control the cars and they're like conquest points? That's a crazy idea. Well, let's try it. Whoa, this is the one. This is the right one. Look how much fun everybody's having. We played one session of that, and we had an A and B. Basically, we had an asymmetric version where only the criminals could do it, and we had the symmetric version where both sides could do it. And we played it. I mean, overwhelmingly, everybody on the team was like, the symmetric version. We got to make that because it's awesome. And it was funny because it was right down to the wire on that. It was like, well, we got to figure this out, guys, or we're not going to be able to ship this thing because we don't have time to finish it. And we got right down to the wire on that. We're like, okay, here it is. This is the one. So
How it got named Hotwire. Came
I
down to
mean,
the wire, and the wire's getting hot.
sure, we'll go with that.
Yeah, no. It's when you guys first talked to us
But
about that mode and everything, I was just thinking, I don't know. I've been a long time Conquest fan, and I just don't know. And then you play it, and everyone's just out chasing each other, trying to set up ambushes at intersections and whatnot, and just it's just pretty damn cool to be able to hop out the side of your car, and you got your buddies hanging out the window shooting and all that shit's going on. That's actually a lot more fun than I ever thought. Really, out of
yeah.
all Battlefields I've played, this one has more fun modes on it than any of them. It's always been Conquest, and then went to Conquest Rush for me. Everyone has their own personal preferences and stuff, but for me, that was where I went, was Conquest and then Rush. Then the last two Battlefields felt like Rush kind of was a little less fun, but Heist, Hotwire, Blood Money, Conquest. Probably Conquest is my least interested one, just because the other modes are so much damn fun and they fit
Yeah.
the theme. So that's
Well, that's exciting for us to hear, of course, because Conquest doesn't necessarily squarely nail the cops and criminals fiction. So
Yeah. It's tough to kind of make a reason for them to playing that, but I mean,
we
eventually
had
you have
some
to
ideas. Sorry, Chris. I keep cutting you off. Sorry about
Oh
that.
no, no, go ahead. I was just gonna say, it's kind of hard to have a reason for them to be chasing flags around, but yeah, no, go ahead.
I mean, we talked about some other ideas like doing criminal versus criminal and having it be like a territory war and so on. But that had some challenges of itself, like in terms of like, well, now we just doubled the audio budget for all the player voices and the spotting mechanics, and well, maybe that's not our best idea ever. Maybe that's something for the future.
Yeah, for sure. What and like for the maps in general, I assume it was a conscious decision to kind of decrease the map size from Battlefield 4. Did
Yep.
you guys have like a general outline of how you wanted the maps to play?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the cops and criminals fiction, snipers play a role, but it's not the same kind of role that you see in a military game where it's like, I'm going to make this 800-meter shot. It's more about the closer range. Like, I'm covering the door while you guys go in, or I'm watching the windows while you guys go in the back,
Yeah.
or whatever it is, right? And that's much more in the crosshairs of the setting. So, I mean, that was definitely a conscious choice. Another thing about Battlefield is an amazing game. But one of the biggest complaints I've heard about Battlefield is that, well, I spawned in, I ran for 10 minutes, some guy shot me, I couldn't see, then I spawned in, I ran again, and I was like, I quit. So we wanted to make sure that players like got into action more quickly, and that
Mhm.
they knew that the engagement ranges, they're not going to have to run for more than like 150 or 180 meters or whatever it is. We always wanted to provide a lot of transport vehicles and fast transport vehicles so they can get around and get into the action faster than they could previously. And I think that's really kind of, I think you can see it's a little bit of a strength for Hardline once you get into modes like Hotwire and it's all about those high-speed chases, or you're using fast cars and heists to get away with the loot, and the cop cars are screaming up behind you with guys hanging out the windows and all these
Mhm.
kinds of things. So I think it's worked out well for us in terms of the actual map size and the way we get players into the fight.
Hmm. Good. That's that's a really great idea, especially because you want to play Hardline faster than Battlefield 4. There's no sense having to load up a transport chopper and take a 5 minute fly over to the flag. You might as well hop in one of the sedans and mow people over on the way. So,
I mean, don't get me wrong. That 5 minute flight is can be really awesome, right?
uh-huh.
And it's certainly a part of that military experience, but it doesn't really fit our setting or our style of gaming play as well. And you've already got that experience in Battlefield, right? We're trying to offer something different, a different flavor of Battlefield, and that's really what Hardline's about. Is giving you, hey, you've got military Battlefield, you want tanks and jets, you've got that, but
Yeah.
Hardline's a little different. It's focused in a different direction.
Hmm.
Well, I've been in a lot of the games I've played was just telling people, if you switch your pistol, you run faster. I'm like, oh shit, I had no idea. And now, like in
Yep.
the beginning of the match, everyone's like pistol, 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 and
Pistol.
running.
Yep.
And for our team, all running in with pistols versus their team all coming with primaries, we're able to beat them to that choke point. It's like something that players will have to adapt to, but it is actually really effective. And at first I was skeptical of that as well, but I'm glad it's there
Hmm.
because whenever you really just need to get there, it's nice knowing you can pull out the pistol, run. You don't have as much protection, obviously, for because you're using a pistol, but it's a nice added touch.
Well,
Which
unless you're the professional, right?
Right, right. Well, speaking on that, I can't thank you enough for moving the radio beacon, spawn beacon from the
Yes.
professional, the guy out on the tower, nowhere near an objective, to right there with the guy who has the SMGs, who's up close and who's going to be right on the objective. So that way the team's on the objective, not trying to traverse from 200 meters out because he's on the tower.
Yeah,
You
it
know,
seemed like a crazy idea at first, right? Because it's been
no,
on the
love
recon
that.
class for
Love
so
it.
long, right?
Love
You're
it.
like, how can you change? Oh, wait, this actually works really well. Cool,
Yeah.
awesome.
Yeah.
And I,
Yeah.
I think that's one of the things that the change in setting has really allowed us to experiment with is changing up the way the classes play and changing up the way the classes are balanced and playing with the engagement ranges and the way the weapons deal damage and all that kind of fun stuff. So
And
One
even little
question. Sorry,
so
Chris, go ahead.
even little things like not starting with an RPG so
yep.
people aren't raining them down from the rooftops, and just little changes that are trying to make the community play more natural. I don't know if that's the right word. Not douchey, maybe is better.
That's a good way to put it.
Yeah.
I
Uh,
mean, that was directly based on community feedback as well. I want to make that clear that we got a lot of sentiment from the beta that this doesn't really fit the setting. I don't understand why the cops have stingers. I don't understand why the criminals have RPGs. It doesn't make a lot of sense. And we listened to that and we kind of agreed. We thought, well, is that really a necessary part of the experience? Well, in some
Hmm.
ways, yes, because who doesn't like explosives? So we don't want to just remove them. Well, how can we fix this? How can we reduce the frequency? Because big explosions and rockets are still cool, but how can we make it more interesting and more challenging? And that's where we came up with some of the ideas like the battle pickups RPGs. I love that one on the roof in Bank Job, because getting that battle pickup and getting that RPG is like, well, if they don't know that we're on the roof, this is just about 2 free kills. Because they're going to
Right.
be down there running on the street, not even looking up, and all of a sudden, whoosh,
Yeah.
so and control of that RPG can actually be a really tactical factor during the middle of the fight. You're like, well, let's see. I know that he's going to get the bag. I'm going to set up the zip line and get the RPG for when the cops try to get up to the roof. I'm going to blow up the cars they're hiding behind and kill everybody there, and then we can score the bag. So I think there's a lot of emergent gameplay and a lot of strategy involved in these battle pickups. And I think you mentioned junk in the trunk earlier too. The idea that hey, it's not really in the fantasy that the guys start off with something, but if you were a criminal and you had this high-powered thing, where would you keep it?
Mm-hmm.
Well, it kind of makes sense to put it in the trunk, right? I mean, you're going to transport it to the objective. You're going to get out. You're going to get this thing and use it. Yeah, that makes sense. And we played around with that, and it seemed pretty fun, seemed pretty cool. So hopefully people like it.
I guess because it's just the beta's still early and people haven't figured it out. But it's everyone's like, there's no RPG besides the ones you pick up. I'm like, get the one for your car upgrade. They're like, what?
Yep.
I'm like, your vehicle upgrade. They're like, what are you talking about? You can get the RPG.
You can upgrade vehicles? Yeah.
And I think a lot of it was just a lot of people instantly want to discredit it because it is a change. Mm-hmm. You have made changes to separate it from what we're used to with the military styled shooter to more of a urban, for lack of a better word, urban team centric, more infantry focused gameplay. And a lot of people are just not. I just don't think they've really got to wrap their head around it yet. But for the ones that have and have really put in hours and that are playing it, I mean, not everyone said positive things, but the ones I think that really give it a legitimate chance are loving it, or at least enjoying it a lot. I can't speak for everyone, but from what I'm being told, there's a lot of people really having a good time that initially had no interest in it at all. So
I would say we've definitely seen a lot of positive sentiment coming from this beta. I think the changes we made show that both that we listen to the community and that they're good changes, and that the game is actually more fun for it and more unique for it. So I'm actually really excited about this beta. I think it's kind of beat my personal expectations. So that's just amazing.
From
Do
now,
you guys have any?
Sorry, Chris.
Go
ahead, Chris. It's your podcast. It's your podcast. Go for it, brother.
Do you? I'm sure you're not going to be able to answer this, but do you have any analytic numbers you can share about the beta? Any regions that are doing well, or things that?
No, I can't talk about that. Of course, I have numbers. I can't share any of that. I'm not cleared to share any of that. So,
one important question is: are you still planning on upholding your cookie for the first person to legitimately hit 150?
Of course. And I don't know who it's going to be. Now, remember, this has to be without boosting or without exploring the point system. One of the guys we looked at the top of the board recently was clearly exploiting the point system. We found evidence of that, so he won't be getting the cookie. Sorry, buddy.
But missed out on a cookie, man. What a lame.
But, the people who legitimately achieve it, they'll definitely be getting a cookie, a good cookie.
Good cookie.
A good cookie. I'd be pissed off if it was stale, Thad. I mean,
I'm gonna. I can't. Well, delivery. But,
right. Just have to send it to Indonesia or something.
I can't control that.
Right.
Yeah. We had a guy in the chat. He says he's level 18. He linked his battle log, so he's
nice.
He's trying hard. 49 hours already.
You got a little ways to go there.
Yeah.
I guess it slows down significantly after you get up to a high number there.
I think Ben was telling me it's like $5.7 million earned. And last time I checked, even the guy who was boosting was like $2.3 million. So it's probably higher now, but I haven't looked.
Now, is there anything that you guys did for the beta that like you just made it easier to rank up or faster to get money or items or cheaper, whatever, to make it easier for people in beta to try things? Or is that what you guys are, at least at that moment, are thinking that's what would be in final? Or did you easy it any? Did it make anything easier for people to
I wouldn't say we intentionally made it easier. One of the points of a beta is actually to stress test all the systems, right? And some of these systems are kind of us guessing at numbers until we get actual data. Right. So we made some estimates based on our playtest, based on what we saw in playtest sessions with outside players and the experience experiences we had and so on. But of course, as you put the product together, systems come online. Things like the medals and the coins that increase your score, these came on relatively late. So we don't always necessarily have the most up-to-date picture at any moment of what we think the average score is going to be. But that is definitely one of the reasons why we want to do a beta is we want to see all these numbers. We want to go, oh yeah, no, that's too fast. That's too slow. This thing's got to be moved over here. Those things just need to be removed completely or whatever it might be. So I think that we've gained a ton of insight from just all the people playing and how fast they've leveled up and how much money they've earned and how much they've unlocked the guns and all those things. So I think this is really going to put us in a good spot for launch.
I was checking out your battle log stats, and I think they need to nerf you.
No.
Give you more
no
meetings because I'm not going to be able to catch up at this rate right now. So
well, let's be fair. I got like a week early access, so I got to put in like 30 something hours by sacrificing my sleep time. So
how are we going to get the cookie, Thad? I mean,
don't worry, I'm not going to hit 150. I promise.
Be on vacation shortly thereafter, right?
Oh, one can only hope.
Right.
One question that keeps popping up, and I'll try and phrase it correctly, though you'll be able to give us some sort of insight on it. The kill cam in the beta, we had a similar one in Battlefield 4 that was a brief change and it kind of went back. Is that something that you guys are looking at?
I think the primary problem with the kill cam is really the collision. And Bank does an excellent job of, again, that tighter focus of playing only one mode on one map really shows off how badly it works in close quarters. So we're looking at some fixes and ways to improve it. Overall, we had a bunch of positive feedback when we first implemented it. A lot of people did not like the previous version of the kill cam where you dropped to the ground and you saw the silhouette of the guy and so on. So we wanted to try something a little bit different. And Battlefield 3's kill cam got a lot of praise where it was kind of the reverse perspective. Instead of being behind the guy, it was in front of the guy looking at his face. But we felt maybe it would be more useful if we put it behind the guy. And like I said, the early feedback we got on that was pretty positive. So I think once we address some of the issues and we get to look a little bit better, maybe center the character, make sure the camera doesn't pop through walls and goes outside of collusion portals so you don't draw part of the map and all those fun technical things. Hopefully we can get this looking and playing a lot better.
Sweet. Is there anything that just stands out as like, nope, that didn't work, or that's got to be changed? Any big top of the priority list from the beta being live that you guys have seen and be like, yeah, that's got to change?
Yeah, I mean, getting one shot at 30 meters by that 870 is just slightly overpowered. So we're already playtesting with a bunch of changes we've made to the weapons, actually. There have been a couple other things. I don't want to get into too much detail, but I'll tell you we've looked at things like swapping some of the weapons between factions, for example, so that it's a little bit more balanced, it's a little bit more symmetric in terms of the capabilities of each type of weapon. So I think you'll see some really interesting changes once the game actually comes out. I think you'll see that like I said, we did learn a lot from how much you guys played and the ways in which you guys played.
Good. So weapon balances, I know you briefly talked earlier about how it's, one of the things you'd be looking at, but it's kind of a little bit down the line. Is that something you envision happening more, I don't know if rapidly is the right word, but more often maybe in the kind of the future, or does your stats kind of leave it as, the changes you make are the changes that stay?
No, not at all. I mean, again, I can't go into too much detail on this, but we really want to be able to respond quickly to anything we want to implement in terms of weapon changes, and that's something we're pursuing actively. It's something we're really interested in creating a way for us to really be able to fine-tune these rapidly without going through a complicated process. So we'll have more information for you on that at some point.
For sure, and then CTE should help that as well.
Oh yeah.
Checking a patch there live and then seeing how it goes. So it's crazy to think. Like I'm going to go on a little bit a tangent, going backwards, but BC2 at the end, like that was my game, thousands of hours on multiple platforms. Oh, yeah. At the end, the automatic shotguns were so broken, and it was like, well, that's the end of that life. We're moving on to something different, and it's just like that little bit of sour taste in your mouth that, it clearly was broken, but. It's nice to have in this day and age where we can get a patch or like a hot fix or something, and even CTE, which is something I've dreamt of doing years and years ago, is a big step forward.
Yep. Well, I mean, if you look at some of the other game models like MMOs and so on, they're able to do much more frequent updates and change little things much more frequently. And I think like you're talking about in this day and age, that seems to be a much better route to take rather than that. Here's what it is, and if it's not perfect in 3 months, here's what it is again. Hopefully that's perfect, you know. So we'd like to be able to be more responsive, more flexible. Like I said, no promises. We're looking into it. We'll see what we can do on that front.
Yeah.
Well, now that everybody knows that you're leading the multiplayer development on this, how many friend requests do you have?
Battle log's limited to 100. So
no, we are all well aware of the battle log limit. No one has ever not figured that out yet. We know.
Yep.
How many do you have sitting in queue though?
I haven't counted.
No, you had too many to count. Right.
Yeah, I can't even keep up with my Twitter notifications anymore. To be honest, every time I open, it's like 400. I'm like,
Wow.
So
I don't even know how you get back to some of them. Well, I know Zach's and he's in the stream here, but and I know he's really nervous, and that's probably what he's worried about. But how afraid is Zach, the producer on Hardline, and how afraid is he of losing his self-proclaimed #1 Wheelman award?
Oh, come on. Zach is fearless, man. It may be unjustified, but he is fearless.
I can't wait to take that from him. Or see someone take it from him. I just want to RPG him as he drives by, and then I'll be good. I don't care what he calls himself after that.
You know, the other thing you got to remember about Zach is extremely crafty. He is much more clever than you might give him credit for. So
right. Not until I sabotage his wheels. To get him. Does Fred Tuna, engineer on Battlefield Hardline, does he actually eat tuna?
So I asked him this, and he said, "Well, yeah, I eat tuna, but that's not where his name comes from. Actually, he told me the story a little bit. I'll relay it to you. He said that this character on The Office apparently who eats tuna in the office, and everybody calls him Big Tuna because of that. And so that was his gaming tag for a long time, and he was playing here at the office, and he kept killing Steve Paputzis, the EP on the project, over and over and over. And Steve said, "That's it. I don't know who this guy is. I got to know who's killing me. You got to put your name on it." And so Fred changed his name from Big Tuna to Fred Tuna, and it just kind of stuck from there. So,
all right, Fred Tuna. So when was the official day that everyone got rid of the neck beards? I mean, when I was there, it was like everyone had not shaved. You know.
What are you talking about? I don't know what you're talking about.
Cleaned up for the podcast.
We call them crunch beards often. You're working so many hours, and you're gonna look like crap anyway. What do you care? You know.
Well, we've seen there's videos. Jack Frags in the stream as well. I saw a video from him showing different animations, Easter egg animations, things of that nature. How much? I mean, we've already got those from the beta, but how much more is there to expect? Y'all got some secrets in?
I'm not gonna tell you how much more. There's more secrets.
Well, I mean, like yesterday, Battlefield's like, hey, here's some Easter eggs.
Some of these secrets. Don't spill any beans, bro.
Well, I was just trying to get you to spill the beans, and then you
no, sir. I do not disappoint the players. No, sir.
Right. All right. Well, good. I really hope that you guys actually keep them as Easter eggs. Let them be found rather than, hey, go here. There's an Easter egg. That's defeats the
not
purpose.
our stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah. So where do I find the Megalodon in Hardline? So.
Well, if you go onto Paracel Store, oh wait.
Yeah. You
got to get 6 people, and you got to turn around
the boy. Yep.
See, now you can tell Chris has never actually attempted that because it's 10 people, not 6.
Yep. I wasn't going to say anything. I was going to let him ride with.
No, I am not a Megalodon hunter. Another one that kind of comes up a little often, I don't know if it's really your specialty or not, different server locations and private servers in general. I assume we'll be seeing something similar to kind of Battlefield 4. Is there anything you can kind of talk on about that?
Yeah, I can't say too much yet because plans aren't finalized in some cases. But we are looking at providing as many servers as many regions as we can because obviously it helps the game overall. So we'll see what the future holds in that regard. I can't really go into too much detail, like I said.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
but we've heard the complaints, and we want to give you a great experience. Of course we do. So we'll do what we can.
Yeah. I assume it's going to be pretty similar to Battlefield 4. There'd be no reason for you guys to do something absolutely crazy. Like, we're getting rid of dedicated servers now. So,
Yeah, no.
No,
We
no,
switched to peer-to-peer. No, no.
yeah,
no,
exactly. Post
no.
migration is the
Oh, la,
future.
la, la, la.
No. No.
That's April 1st joke, maybe, but that's it.
Yeah.
Actually,
Okay.
that'd be a good one. Pop up a screen, server
Yeah.
migrate.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah. Look, switching host migration. Wow. Just Alt F4. All right.
I'm out.
It's
Some.
it's been it's been asked that in the chat a few
Mhm.
times. Like, and it does seem to be. And now, if you can't answer this or this is not your department, that's entirely okay. But it does seem like the reoccurring issue so far with Hardline is time to kill.
Mhm.
Anything like that you guys have noticed with that or
So
doing
we're
anything
we're
with?
still we're still assessing the sentiment, trying to figure out what the overall opinion is. Right? Some people love it, some people hate it, some people feel it just needs a little tweak, and so on. Um, I will tell you some of the balance changes we're looking at aren't necessarily related to that, but are more related to not the damage numbers per se, but related to the accuracy on the weapons. Like the M16 and the 416 are clearly far too accurate in automatic fire. I mean, you just get destroyed at like
Oh my
100
God.
meters, and most of the other weapons can't really
Hmm.
compare to that. So we're definitely, we hear all of your feedback, and we love the feedback, and it's vital for us. So keep it coming, keep giving us your opinions. We're going to make the best game we possibly can, and if we can see that there's a majority opinion, or that a lot of people feel this way and not that way, or you know we're going to try to move things in the right direction. But if opinion is split, or it's a lot of different factions that all have different points of view, we're probably going to go with what we think is right, because if there's no clear consensus, we still want to be true to the vision of Hardline, of course. So we're
Right.
listening as always.
Right.
Well,
Yeah, that's interesting because I know a lot of people, and for those of you who don't know, you're supposed to be giving feedback on the beta in the
Yes,
Battle.log
please.
forums. You're not supposed to be just
That's
playing and
what the
having
beta's
fun.
for.
yeah.
um, I've seen a lot of people complain about, maybe complain is the wrong word, but discuss one part of the community, and this is broken, this is broken, and then you find out, talking to people like yourself, no, like our stats all show everything is fine. It's not a big deal. So it's a little not the squeakiest wheel gets the grease all the time. It's
I
what your stats are showing.
Yes, and I also think that sometimes people complain about something, but what they're complaining about is not what they think they're complaining about. For example, we've got complaints about suppression, and it turns out that no, suppression, we pretty much took the aimbot out. What they're complaining about is the bullet flinch when you get shot. And
Mm.
we looked at this and we're like, wow, that probably is a little bit too much. We should tone this down a little bit. So that's one of the things we've looked at toning down as well, to make the gameplay experience a little bit less about, well, I got shot first and I couldn't return fire. And that could be leading to some perceptions about the time to kill as well, because if you can't react, you can't return fire, that's going to lead you to die faster. So hopefully, we're moving things in the right direction. We definitely, we do a lot of testing on any of these changes that we make, and we get a lot of opinions and a lot more feedback. Like I said, that's part of the iterative process of multiplayer. And I really look forward to seeing what you guys think when we finally put out the finished game.
Nice. One important question based on where to put feedback. Are
Yeah.
you guys or the developers on the Hardline subreddit? Is that somewhere that you
Yes.
guys will hear feedback?
Yeah, we actively comb NeoGAF, Reddit, and of course the Battlelog forums are a great spot. So I would suggest any one of those three places where you post your opinions and your feedback. There's an extremely high chance that a developer or somebody associated with the project is going to see that and be able to collate it into the giant list of here's all the stuff people said. So
Good.
So
All right.
probably not
and
personal Twitter.
a lot of people try that, but like I said, I quickly get overwhelmed, and I get through like about 200 tweets. And I'm like, it's been an hour and a half, and it's midnight. I should probably go sleep. Well, let me just answer these five more. So I think
That's not true. You're
with
playing Hotwire. Don't
that's true. I do
lie.
play a lot of Hotwire or Heist.
Yeah.
Playing
Um,
Hotwire like and replying to tweets like.
multitasking. Well, you got to do something while you're waiting for the spawn timer, right?
Right.
So
Right. Yeah, absolutely. Well, we won't keep you too much longer. We do really appreciate you taking the time out of your day. I know you've been probably in the executive grind kind of thing all day with meetings or whatever.
it's been a busy day, of course. I mean, it's a very busy period for us, as like I said, we're going through all the feedback. So.
What does a typical day look like for you guys,
Mm.
especially during crunch time?
Well, it really depends on what part of the project we're in, like what phase of the
Neckbeards.
project we're in. Yeah, if we're in the neckbeard phase, it's mostly about fixing all the bugs that are already tracked by QA. So, as you start wrapping things up, as all the features, as you reach what's called feature complete, where everything's basically done and it's in, and it's all like 80%, right? And you've got to push it across the finish line to get everything finished, get everything polished, everything up to awesome. And that takes a lot of time and a lot of attention to detail. You got to be thinking about, well, this grappling hook's cool and all, but wouldn't it be more useful if it was useful everywhere on the map as opposed to just these highlighted spots? And the zipline's cool and all, but wouldn't it be sweet if you could shoot it up instead of just down? And all these little tweaks and changes that you want to make that really bring each thing into like more of an equal level, more of an equal utility with all the other things. And of course, then you're finding like, oh, users can zipline out of the map on every map. Well, we probably need a system to handle that. Okay, we should come up with something that works, and let's talk to the engineers and assess how much work and yada yada yada. So that for the neckbeard part of the project, the crunchy part, that's really where you're trying to fix everything so it's not broken, basically.
Yeah,
the neckbeard part of the project.
I would assume that's going to take a while, with all the feedback, especially making it live like this.
Well, the nice thing about the feedback is most of it is data tuning. There is a small amount of feature work, but most of that we can't really address until after, like sometime later, because engineering time, they're all working on stability and making sure that the launch goes perfectly. Of course, we need to nail this launch, right? Mm-hmm. So that's our real focus at this point, is where we can tune numbers, where we can tweak data. Those are the things we're really, really looking at strongly and trying to figure out the right response to. Because we don't want to take the engineers off their super critical task of making sure all the back-end stuff is perfect and the servers are running great on every platform. I mean, we're on 5 platforms. That's crazy. I've never shipped a game on that many platforms at the same time. Mm-hmm. So it's a really interesting challenge.
If I could ask you one, maybe one more, at least one more. Who is it that's over? Like, who would be you're already getting plenty of feedback, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Like, as you've said. So who is it? Who would be best to give feedback? Somebody's in the chat that don't know who would be best to give feedback to for like hacker mode. Who would be more over that, so it's not having to be passed through you to them, but who would be the direct source for that?
Obviously, like I said, the forums are a great spot, right?
Use that.
Yeah, forums are probably the best spot. I'm gonna give out Ben's information here so you can flood him too. He's responsible for that feature. So if you contact Ben Gatchu at the Sure Ben.
Sure Ben.
Yeah, SUREBEN with the V in front of it. He's the guy who has the most in-depth knowledge about hacker mode and would be able to answer any questions you've got. Well, depending on how many questions he gets, obviously. But he'll be able to talk in depth and in detail about that.
Roger, thank you. We can't ask that, Ben. Nothing about favorite maps. They love them all. We can't talk about it. Don't want to bust any level designers' chops. So.
Yeah.
All right.
I just got trolled by an animator. I don't know if you saw him. That was Patrick Walker.
Photobomb. Thad, we really appreciate you taking the time, man. I know you've had a long day, and we won't keep you any longer. We'll let Chris talk to you a bit since I've rattled off the whole time.
No, it's been really really eye-opening. I really appreciate you coming on, and it's so refreshing to have what other game can you just immediately talk to somebody? Hey, you want to be on a podcast? Sure. You want to answer questions? Absolutely. It's just that easy. So I think we're actually pretty lucky from how far we've came. So
I mean, this project's been unique in my experience. I haven't been able to do this on any other project I've worked on. So I relish the chance to be as transparent and open with you guys as possible. So I appreciate you taking the time to talk to me. I love to talk about the game, obviously. You probably heard me do it a bunch. So anytime, I can talk about the game, I'll jump at the chance. So thanks for having me.
Not a problem. This Saturday, we're actually playing our PTFO Saturday with EA Community Manager Jeff Braddock on PS4. That starts at 7 p.m. Central. So he's a super hilarious guy and loves Hardline, going off on his streams about Hardline. So
nice.
Definitely have to check that out. And Lono, who do we got on the podcast next week?
Next week is kind of up in the air due to certain. It might be like a round table kind of thing. I don't really want to say just in case he's not able to make the time.
Okay, we will hold our cards tight to our chest, but we're continuing the whole visceral EA theme, so maybe we'll leave it at that.
Yeah, it'd be another it'd be another big one if we can get him to squeeze the time out. But Thad was fortunate enough to get us a good show. We do appreciate you, Thad.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
My pleasure,
Thank
guys.
you very much.
All right, we'll not
All
take
right.
any more of your time.
I'm gonna go eat some dinner now.
Right on.
Take
you
care,
guys.
guys. Thanks.